Welcome back to the channel, Warhammer Man Studios, and I'm Warhammer Man. And with all this messing around with the Palanite, headquarters and everything here, and kind of building up, the good guys' little fort, and messing around with some of the conversions, putting out that video earlier. I definitely believe in some balance in the force. So, what I decided to do was I'm gonna go ahead and do just a quick little like a corpse grinder themed one, just kind of keep a little bit of balance. So we're gonna do one of these pillars, and we're gonna have a couple magnets in it, but we're also we're gonna do sort of like a dark theme with it. So we're gonna take some themed bits from some other stuff and kind of bash them in here. So what I'm going to do first is we're going to want to build one of these, but before we do that, we're going to want to go ahead and take one of these panels out, kind of in that shape there, and we're going to take it out on one side, and then we're going to leave magnets on a couple of the other sides. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I'll be back shortly. Alright, so we basically just went around this little rim right here with the blade just over and over again on both these pieces right here. And we're just about through. We're just gonna keep scoring it and scoring it until finally it's ready to go, and then we'll go ahead and just keep cutting away from ourselves gently, not trying to force it. We're trying to just use a lot of little cuts here instead of like a couple of big ones, and then eventually we'll just wear away at the plastic, and then we'll finally be able to get through there. And it may take a little time, but it's important to just be patient with this. Do exactly that. Take your time with it. Don't try to force it. It's a real thick plastic, so you don't just expect it to go through on the first try. And then when you get it nice and weak, you can go ahead and give it a little push. And then when you kind of push it away, it'll actually help separate it a little bit, and it'll make it easier to get the last little bits out of there. So there's one of them kind of just cut out, and we'll save that little piece because you may want to use that for what we're about to do. You may not. Alright, and then we got both those cut out there, and now we can basically make either one pillar, one column with like a couple different things down inside there, or we could just have a couple different ones basically for a single hallway that are kind of like facing each other, kind of like, hey, you're entering enemy territory. So and we'll get a couple of bits together and get a little theme, and we'll be back with that. Alright, so now here we have a couple little bits here, some different stuff than what we used for, the Palanites, obviously. We have some stuff from Warcry, actually. This is from, like, the Warcry terrain set, and I'm thinking these, like, chaos icons could be pretty cool. Different stuff kind of poking out here, kind of ornate looking, as well as these are from Warcry set as well, and they're basically, like, little skeletons or the remains of dudes, like, up on these little spike setups. There's a couple of those there. And then we had like ambot's head and some little cutters from the ambot, and a little plasma pack from a hellblaster from 40k. Again from Warcry, we got like a couple of these little like chains and balls and stuff. And then just like a couple little pieces of like our plasticard, like tubing. These two pieces like go inside of each other, so they're pretty cool. And then there's also like some just various little shapes and thicknesses. So we're gonna kind of just like, I think the plan is, what I'm kind of picturing is sort of like have a couple of these dudes like dead, like kind of trapped in the wall, kind of hanging out through like the wires or chained in or whatever. It's kind of like warding off, saying like do not enter, or like death beyond this point. So let me just kind of slap a couple things together, and we'll see how it looks. Alright, so here we're going to start layering in a couple things on them. So here's our first one. We started with like the skeleton on the post basically. And I just sort of like connected him at the bottom, a little bit elevated up. And then I put a few skulls just sort of around that bottom area. And then I added in like a wire. And every piece I try to touch at least 2 places for stability. And I also kind of wrap that cord around his neck and then around the back here. And you'll see how I have everything glued onto the actual back too in different areas to give it more strength, okay? And then here we have our second one as well. And I did a similar type thing. I started with the skeleton, but I had this one kind of coming through the wall, kind of falling out of it. And then I put like the hose going around the back into like the back of his head. And then I have the icon as well coming out through the wall. And then I have that bridge in a couple places. And then I added in a little skull here and a hose just to kind of connect everything together. And now it's important that you notice too that when I turn this sideways, it's going to be tough to tell in the video, but I left a tiny little space in between this little bit right here. So when everything, and the skull right here, when everything's on the table and it's clipped into the board, I don't have to worry about these little bits interfering with the board clipping in correctly because of like the little ridges. So everything's raised up just a little bit to be careful. So okay, now that's like our what I would call our first layer there. So now I'm going to layer in a few more details and we'll kind of see where that puts us at. Alright, so here we have like our next little layer done here. And you can see we basically just added in a bunch more little pipes and wires, hoses, chains, skulls. And then we sort of put like a, it's like a bloodlet or damaged skull over top of like the skeleton skull. And you'll see we've been reinforcing everything from the back along the whole way. And then here for the other one, basically just did the same thing. Just kept adding in like little pieces. We put like the little hook on the wall kind of holding his head up. And then again we gave him that demon skull and just kind of added in some more skulls there at the base. And again we made sure to just keep everything up off the edges so it's not going to interfere with it clipping into the board as it's supposed to. So, and now we're just going to finish up building the pillars and we can see what they look like all finished. Alright, and there we have it guys. You could probably keep going if you wanted to, but we're pretty happy with how they came out. And you know, we basically just put a couple more little skulls here on the sides there and just set a couple of those red tea lights inside of them to kind of give them that eerie glow. But as you can see, you know, without that tea light inside of there, it's just going to be, let me just kind of get that out of the way. It's just going to be dark in there and you're not even going to see what's going on. But you know, if you did want to have like kind of that eerie little tea light, you could just add that in there. But as you see, we just kind of threw a little skull on the side. And then we do have our regular magnets, so we could put our regular accessories on there. And then again, you know, if you want to have like that kind of eerie red, like demonic glow coming from inside there, you can just set one of those little tea lights there. And of course for this one as well, same type of deal. You can see that eerie glow that we have going to it. Or if you're not you know, interested in that, obviously you can do it without. And we just kind of added a couple of extra little skulls there as well. So, and we just converted some of our pillars to have a little bit of a chaosy, coronate feel to them. To represent the corpse grinders are taking over. Obviously they're not taking over, but you know, if you wanted to represent that, this is how you do it. And remember that even if you don't have the exact same bits, you know, you can do whatever you want with your own bits. You don't have to do exactly what I did. You can do something different. The idea is just to you know, basically create something out of nothing and customize your table in a way that fits you know, your thematic experience. So that's it guys. Warhammer Man Studios signing off.